another episode of Healthcare Mad Genius. With us today is Ron McGuaghy, Vice President of Network Development. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Now, Ron, you're on your second tour of duty with HMG. I know the second tour has been much longer than the first. So could you tell everybody a little bit about your history with the organization and a little bit about your role currently?
Yeah. So I started with HMG, I don't even know how long ago now, and I started off in admissions, actually. I was in, during that time, we only had admissions and marketing was one position. I was at Park Manor West Chase. It was great. Andy Paceric was my administrator at the time, and I was still kind of learning the business. And I remember we did remarkable numbers. This is back before managed care and everything else. So, we're just running Medicare, and we're doing all of these great things. And I wound up getting a wonderful promotion. We were opening up a new building called Deerbrook Skilled Nursing. And so I remember transitioning over there, and I, of course, just trying to be ambitious. I found another opportunity, and like a lot of people sometimes, you go chase money. May not always be the best idea, but you go chase it, and unfortunately that's what I did. I quickly found out that I wanted to come on back because money isn't everything. Happiness is everything.
That's right. Quality of life. That
Absolutely.
definitely makes a difference. And so you're one of the few people, we have a handful of people that were with the organization prior and post new ownership. So let everybody know a little bit, what do you think are some of the major differences without getting too many people in trouble? What were some of the, what's the major differences that you see in the organization now post new ownership in
I know.
in 2012?
What I'm going to say is probably going to kill me, but I just want to say direct deposit. Let's just start there. I know that sounds.
Now you're doing it. Now you're going to get me in trouble.
I'm
That's
just
an inside
saying,
joke. I know how you go with that.
It was great. During that period, we had manual checks, and it was just different. And so to come back to a company that did direct deposit was a benefit for me. So I was like, it was exciting. In addition to that, not just direct deposit, but also just the mentality. When I came back to the organization, it's a pretty crazy story. I don't even know if you remember this or not, but we were touring buildings, you and I, and we wound up going to West Chase. And I remember that day you asked me about, just my family, my dad, and all that stuff. And I'll tell you a pretty extensive story about my dad that day. And that night, my dad wound up having a heart attack. And I had to travel down to Corpus, and I just will never forget that day. Not only will I not forget that day, I won't forget the weeks afterwards, because there were no phone calls of where are you, what time are you going to be back here, what are you doing? It was just like, how can we support you? What do you guys need? Take as much time as you need. Do what you got to do. And it was just that feeling. And from that moment on, you guys had me hooked. I mean, I was willing to do anything for somebody that was willing to go above and beyond the norm of what I was used to in corporate America to make me and my family feel comfortable about something so tragic. Yeah. So I'm always appreciative of that.
No, I remember that time, and it was real soon, right after you came back on board, and that was very traumatic. I'm sorry you had to go through that, but glad we could be there for you. Now, you talked about starting out in admissions marketing as a single role. Then subsequent to that, then you were in a regional role.
Yeah, came back
and now obviously you're the vice president of network development.
Yeah.
Kind of give everybody a little bit of the progression of that and the starter version of Ron and then the Ron version today.
Yeah, it's so many different things, and one of the things I tell people all the time, there are 4 principal partners, 3 when I started, now 4. And they all kind of manage differently, right? And one of the things that I really am happy about is I've taken the strengths of all of you guys and kind of developed it into how I want to be as a manager, if you will. I've learned, countless, and I've spent a lot of time with all of you, to be totally honest with you. And so as you're learning and you're obtaining information, you take it and then you want to make it your own, right? And so throughout this time that I've been here, I started off very thou shalt type person, and I remember having a conversation with you one day, and I'll never forget it because I was like, yo, he really went there. He was like, Ron, what are you doing specifically to impact census? And I was like, well, I'm holding people accountable. It's like, no. What are you specifically doing to impact what's going on in the buildings? And from that day on, I knew that I couldn't just exist. I had to be a person that added value. And so for that, I was always appreciative. And then from a Wayne perspective, who's our COO, he taught me being fiscally responsible. You know, not just getting ahead in the bed, but making sure that you know, we're doing the right thing not only for the patient, but that we're also being compensated for those things that we're doing well. Yeah. And then from Lawrence, I learned like the big picture. You know, how does this affect us as a whole? It's not just about what's happening just right here, but how does this trickle down and what systems are you going to put in place? And then from Anna, I've learned that people are your biggest asset. You know what I mean? So you have to invest in people, whether you agree necessarily, would you rather be right or successful? So, you know, with all of those things, I've kind of guided my career, and I think it's really helped me to be the best manager that I try to be for my team.
Yeah, no, and you've done a tremendous job. I know a lot of the conversations that you and I have, those are early conversations were about command and control and respect, and then those conversations have come around to more on a value, right? We talk a lot about value. Could you tell people a little bit on how you now look at it and your value and what you bring and how you measure that value in your role? Yeah,
and the cool thing about it, the team that I work with, they all know that is something that I'm always going to lean back on. Like we were having a meeting with Anna one day, and they were all kind of nervous. Like, well, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to present. I said, okay, well, what I want you to do is I want you to go back. I want you to look at what you have done throughout the month, and I want you to tell me how that impacted our bottom line. So if you can do that, then you can show that you truly have value. So now I do things that I've never done before. I look at financials. I look at returns on investments, those things that really matter, because I'm able to kind of measure that. And it's not just subjective. It's facts. You know what I mean? I can't just say, oh, I like Derek because he's a great guy. No, I have to have proof that he is intuitively just a good person and what that looks like. And so now that I've kind of gotten to that space where I really understand how to show value, it's made the department, I think, more impactful, because now we're able to go back and say, these are the areas that we are deficient, and we can pay close attention to that and really turn it around in a way that makes sense for everybody and not just for us. Because before, when you would ask me a question, hey, how's case manager so-and-so doing? And I would tell you what, oh, she's doing great. Well, how do you know she's doing great? You know, like what is it about? Yeah. And I was like, oh, she does everything I ask her. You know, she's right. Awesome. You know, and you know, all these wonderful adjectives that essentially doesn't mean anything if you can't quantify it with true facts and numbers.
That's right. No, I agree. As you're moving forward, what do you think, as you're looking from a vision standpoint, and when you look network development, you talked about before, we didn't think anything about managed care, right? When you first got into the profession, it wasn't there. Now we have market penetration well over 50%, and some markets down here in Houston even more so. What do you think is going to happen? What, you know, as people are listening, where do you think this is all headed?
You know, I do think that managed care is here to stay. I think value-based care is, you know, the name of this business, and if you are not actively participating in ways to, one, save the Medicare dollar and provide exceptional care, you'll be on the outside looking in. I think that's why you see so many skilled facilities closing doors. I think a lot of people kind of put their foot in the ground and said managed care is not somebody that we want to deal with. I feel like we've had some success with managed care. I feel like we've done the right things, and I think we continue to find opportunities to do even better. You know, do we have our issues? Are there areas of improvement? Absolutely, but for the most part, I feel like we're in a space now where there's nothing but upside for where we're going. When we talk about things like iSNP, or when we talk about alternative payment models, or renegotiating rates with some type of value add, it only makes sense for us. And I think that that's the future of HMG. That's what's going to take us to the next phase of what healthcare in the future is going to look like.
Wonderful. I love it. And I couldn't agree more. It's complicated. It's never easy. That's why we need people like yourself and your team. And by the way, a lot of people may not know who's on your team.
Yeah.
You said my team, and then it's maybe not everybody knows
your
team.
I work with, there are three ladies that are extremely smarter than me.
Well, we knew that.
Let me tell you something. No, and they know it too. So I know sometimes they're like, I can't believe I work for this guy. But it's Alyssa Ewing. She's Strategic Alliances. We have Faith Hawkins and Cecilia. I always butcher her last name, and I'm sorry, Cecilia. But she's amazing. Those are our two case managers. They do an amazing job, and they work extremely hard. They're self-motivated, which is a part of my interviewing process. I do not want to manage you, because if I feel like I have to manage you, you're probably not good for leadership. So I do like people that are self-aware and understand where the value is, and they're very self-motivated. Sometimes, at times I have to pull them back a little bit just to say, hey, let's settle on this one and then move on to the next thing. But they're an amazing team, and I love my network development people.
No, they're good. I agree with you. They're great folks, and you're very fortunate to have them, or we're very fortunate to have them on the team. As we close this down. I'll toss it up to you. I'll let you say whether it's about HMG, whether it's about network development, whether it's about long-term care in general. Let the people that are listening or viewing give them some of your insight, and what would you advise them on? Talk to them about. It's your call.
I'd probably say that this is just the beginning. You know, what we're doing right now, we are not at all as sophisticated as we're going to be moving forward. I think we put a lot of great things in place, and with the onslaught of like ACOs and these IPAs that are coming in and all the different legs of this business that are out there right now, we're really just scratching the surface. We now are our own payer, which is exciting. We are participating in some really cool ACOs that allows us to get some shared savings as well. So the possibilities are just endless, and so we're always looking for new opportunities, new ways, new strategies. We're restructuring our contracts in ways that benefit us more from a collection standpoint. So I really do think that this is just the tip of the iceberg, and where we're going to go from a network development standpoint, people won't be able to see it, and we'll write case studies, and we'll be the example of what it means to be a long-term care provider in this business.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ron, and thank you so much for being our guest today. Appreciate all that you do.
No problem, brother.
And thank you guys for tuning in to Healthcare Mad Genius. Well, please be on the lookout for future episodes where we'll introduce more people on the team, specific topics, and feel free to let us know if there's something specific that you would like to hear about. We'd love to get the topic on the show. Thank you so much.